Alright, so Dragon Ball Super ended on March 25th of 2018, so it's almost been 3 years with no news of the return of Dragon Ball Super. And I think I have an idea of when to expect news for the Dragon Ball Super anime. So before we kind of jump into when we're going to start hearing some news of this Dragon Ball Super anime, we kind of got to break down what happened when Dragon Ball Super came out, the first part, right? And we know that the franchise is going to come back because we see that the Dragon Ball Heroes promotional anime is still going on, the games are still being updated, the manga is still being continued after Dragon Ball Super, so we know that the anime is going to be coming back, but we're going to kind of break down when and why we had to wait so long. First of all, they don't really want to rush it. We got to look at what happened the first time Dragon Ball Super came out, and we saw the animation was a huge issue. They were kind of running out of time, they were being rushed, so this time around they're kind of trying to bring things a step back, you know what I mean? They're trying to take their time a little bit longer, and you have to think about now it's going to be even more difficult because they have to compete with the end of Dragon Ball Super animation, right? So they're trying to keep the bar that high, and kind of they've been hyping it up for so long, so they definitely have to spend much more time on this animation, and I'm hoping to see some possibly movie quality animation initially, because that's going to be its debut once more. That's going to be its second debut. We also see that they're already starting to learn from some of the mistakes that they made in the past, such as deciding to remake not deciding to remake the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie into episodes like they did for Battle of God Resurrection F. They decided to basically just remake those movies, which they already decided were essentially canon because they liked the story so much, into episode versions, which I will admit it did add some level of depth to the story, but not a whole lot, and the animation quality went down significantly, and we saw a lot of unnecessary changes from the movies to the episodes, so it kind of ruins the whole purpose of having one or the other, you know what I mean? It just kind of shows how indecisive they are. So I kind of like that they just decided, like in the manga for example, they were just like, the events that happened in the Broly movie were canon. And I honestly think that the first time around, they should have just made those movies canon and kind of took it from there. And another thing that's kind of huge, which probably contributed to the reason why the anime is taking so long to come out, is that the manga and the anime for Dragon Ball Super started at around the same time, and usually this kind of works for any anime that you look at. The anime is based off of the manga, right? The manga comes out first, and the anime kind of follows it, right? Obviously they add filler and some other stuff to kind of fluff up the story and make it a little bit longer, but essentially it follows the manga, right? And because they started around the same time, the manga fell behind, and now I believe Akira Toriyama has his own story points that he gives to these companies, and to Toyotaro, these little guidelines that they have to follow. But after the anime passed the manga, there was no reference, right? They still knew what was going to happen, like a vague idea, but there was no reference, there was no source material to go off of, so they just kind of did their own thing, and that really shows when you compare the anime and the manga, right? The characters don't even look the same, they have different scaling, different transformations, some of the fights were completely different. Some of the most notable ones are later on, which makes more sense because that's when the gap widened even more. When you look at the Tournament of Power, you see like Gohan versus Kefla in the anime, in the manga, and you see Goku UI Omen versus Kefla in the anime. So, and if you talk about power scaling from a power scaling perspective, this doesn't make any sense because these two characters, Gohan and Goku, should be in very, very different leagues here, and they're both competing with essentially the same character, Kefla, at essentially the same level. It doesn't really make any sense. And also you have the different transformations. I think I already mentioned this, but you have the full completed Super Saiyan Blue, which doesn't waste any ki and is more controlled, which makes a lot of sense when you're kind of building up to UI Omen. But then you have just Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken in the anime, which is not even used or mentioned in the manga. So it's just very vastly inconsistent. I'm actually going to make another video talking about which one is more powerful, the Super Saiyan Blue Completed or the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, because it's kind of interesting to see the differences in power scaling here. Now, when should we expect Dragon Ball Super 2, right? When should we be expecting news from it? Now, right now, currently in the manga, also be wary, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening in the manga, but essentially in the manga right now, we're in what's called the Granola arc, and it basically just started. Our characters don't even know who Granola is yet, and I think they're probably going to wait for this arc to finish before the anime starts, you know, to increase consistency so the anime can actually follow the manga this time. So I think there's probably going to be about a 2 to 3 arc difference initially. And since the Granola arc just started, and Granola just got his abilities by the new dragon through the new Dragon Balls, he'll probably first meet the Z Fighters or Frieza in the next chapter or so. This is going to be more of like a build-up chapter. You always see this in these fights, like in the Moro arc, the arc right before this. You had some build-up chapters before the big fight, right? It's going to be basically a build-up chapter, and then probably within the next couple of chapters, we're going to see the fights pan out. Maybe 1 or 2 fights. We see a lot of times in these arcs you have multiple fights between the villains and the good guys. Like in the Cell arc, you had several fights with Cell and the Z Fighters as he progressively gets stronger. Same thing with Moro. Could happen again here, but I'm not entirely sure because Granola has a time limit on his life, so I think it might just be one all-out fight. Maybe one with Frieza, then one with him and the Z Fighters. So I can kind of expect possibly 3 to 4 more chapters, which would equate to about 3 to 4 more months, because there's 1 chapter coming out every month. So I think after that is probably when we can expect to hear some news about Dragon Ball Super 2, because that would mean that the manga has a safe lead over the anime. And I know we've already waited 3 years, but it is coming, so be on the lookout for that, and it's going to be great. As for things that we could expect to see in Dragon Ball Super 2, there are a lot of unexplored opportunities that they could kind of expand upon in the Granola arc, like the 2 Trunkses in one timeline. I really want to see something about that, you know, kind of see them meet each other. I think it'd be really cool if one of them had purple hair and one of them had blue, just to make it a little bit easier for us to distinguish between which one's which. As we know, they can definitely do this because our Trunks has purple hair, has purple grayish hair, and Future Trunks has blue hair, and he had purple hair before he left the first time. And when we look at flashbacks of that same Trunks that we saw with purple hair, in those flashbacks he has blue hair. So, and he's in a timeline with a Future Trunks that never met Zamasu, which would make more sense if we gave him purple hair and the Future Trunks that we just saw in Super blue hair. I know it's kind of confusing to talk about, but I'm basically just trying to say 1 purple, 1 blue hair, be able to distinguish, and have them both fight together, something like that. That'd be very cool. Also, we could see an evil Grand Priest or some fights amongst the gods or angels. What would happen if the 2 Zenos disagreed? Who are the rest of the most powerful beings? For plot purposes, I don't really think that they would be the angels, to be honest. And, you know, maybe the next god of destruction. So a lot of people have been thinking of it being Vegeta, but if you really think about it, I don't... Like, Vegeta has softened up greatly, and I don't really see him becoming a god of destruction. I don't think he would really want to take that path, but somebody that I do see fit into that role perfectly would be Frieza. He's kind of out there, he's out and about. He's already on the level of the Super Saiyan Blues. I think he'd be the perfect next candidate, but we can talk about that more in another video. If you guys like more videos like this, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.